All too often, American high schools are terrorized by spree shooters who leave carnage behind them before taking their own lives. That's why this case is such a pleasant surprise. Well, mostly, I guess. What happened was still totally shocking, but also really incredible. Let's dive in. Ella Whistler, a big Taylor Swift fan who loves sports, was a 7th grade student at Noblesville Middle School in Indiana, USA. Now, for Ella, May 25th, 2018 just seemed like a typical, boring Friday at school. At 9 a.m., she was going to do a test in her dreaded science class. While she liked the teacher, Mr. Seaman, science had always been her least favorite subject. But that morning, things were about to get a whole lot worse for her, and a lot scarier than any normal pop quiz. One of her classmates asked to be excused from the room during the test, but when he came back, he was carrying 2 handguns. Before anyone could react, he began to open fire in the classroom. He was mainly aiming at Ella, and that's when her teacher, Jason Seaman, leapt into action. Jason Seaman was a former Southern Illinois University defensive end player who coached 7th grade American football. He threw a handy basketball very hard at the attacker. Now, that had to hurt. Probably not as much as the bullets, but yeah. Good. Anyway, it stunned him and Mr. Seaman ran right at the attacker and tackled him to the ground. As he subdued the guy, Jason was yelling at his other students to get the heck out of there and to call 911. While he struggled with the attacker, he got injured in his abdomen, hip, and forearm. Luckily, apart from one other student with a fractured ankle and poor Ella, nobody else was hurt at all. The police arrived super fast, and Jason and Ella were taken to the emergency ward. Ella was in really critical condition, but Jason stayed conscious all the way and was able to talk to his wife. But this was a really terrifying situation, and the students were all evacuated really quickly. It happened right after several other horrible spree attacks on other schools in the country, so I can't imagine how scary it felt for the parents and all of the students, who soon began getting text messages from their kids asking to be taken home. After a little while, Ella's family released a statement saying she was stable. Our daughter, Ella Whistler, was involved in a horrific shooting today at her school. We wanted to say she's doing well at Riley Hospital for Children. She was far from okay, but after a while she began to recover from all 7 bullet wounds. It looks like she's pretty tough and probably had some really good doctors. While her attacker couldn't be named because of his age, as he was also in 7th grade, there was a lot of interest in how her teacher had stopped things before they got any worse. Naturally, Jason was called a great hero in the press, but he was pretty modest about it all.
I want to make it clear that my actions on that day, in my mind, were the only acceptable actions I could have done given the circumstances.
His brother even said, "It's not surprising, to be honest. He's not really ever been the person to run away. When the safety of the kids is at hand, it's not surprising to me that he was going to do what he had to do." And even his neighbors had said the same thing. He's a really great guy. So basically, the attacker really picked the wrong class and teacher to mess with, which is super lucky for everyone else at the school, right? Ella herself has become a bit of a celebrity. She appeared on lots of radio stations and talk shows.
I have 4 bullets in me, and a lot of people don't really think that. And then I have 7 wounds. I have 7 open wounds.
Ella and Jason also headed up a 4th of July parade last year. They were made grand marshals of the event. By August 1st, 2018, Ella was even ready to go back to class.
I'm doing great. The therapy is really going good. It just feels good to be able to get out and do things too.
Are you excited to go back to school?
I am. I'm excited to go back the first day and just, kind of make things normal again.
And in November, just 6 months after the horrible attack, Ella was dancing with the Colts cheerleaders. She's the one in the black and yellow right at the center of the dancers. That's hella awesome for her. And as for the wannabe monster who did this, personally, I think it's a really good thing we don't know his name, at least at the time of this video. There's no chance for him to become anywhere near as infamous as some of the others like him, who he clearly idolized. But who could have seen the warning signs that he'd do something that awful? What's totally weird is the guy is supposed to have been known for laughing and joking with other students. He really didn't have the moody loner reputation that I usually hear about in these cases. One 7th grader who knew him even said he was a nice kid most of the time. It's just a shock he would do something like that. Police did find recent searches on the attacker's computer for infamous spree events at other schools. Even more chilling, he'd done a search for the blueprints of the high school. He totally had some sick ambitions. But could he have done this if he hadn't been been able to get the 2 handguns from a safe in the basement of his family home? Because get this, he knew exactly where the key was. Even if his parents insisted they were responsible gun owners, they'd even taught him how to use it. For safety. And as for those warning signs, they were out there. Just a week before his attack at the school, he'd set a bin of trash on fire in the driveway of his own house, and his mom took him to see the local fire chief. Sadly, this didn't make him think twice about what he did next. So later on, Ella's parents sued the students' parents. But these cases can be hard to prove against the parents, even when the Whistlers' rep argued that the mom and dad really should have known. He said he suffered from a mental and psychological disorder, took pleasure in violence in others, and lacked empathy, and had the capacity to commit violent acts. The evidence at his trial seems to back this up. He had actually recorded a 2-minute video the day before saying, "Tomorrow's Friday. You know what that means. I have to take other people's lives before I take my own." As you might have expected, that's hell horrible and scary. But no, he's really not that original either. We've seen this sort of threatening video way too many times before. He'd also sent text messages to 3 friends warning them not to come into school that day. But when you're in 7th or 8th grade, other kids say some really stupid things, right? I can only imagine that's why they didn't take him very seriously. So more evidence of how disturbed he was showed up in the video. He was building a rifle out of Lego. Again, on its own, that's not too sinister, right? But considering what he did afterwards, yeah, in fact, it's really scary. But a single good thing that came out of this, the board at Ella's school approved a $50 million property tax towards improvement in mental health services and getting more teachers. This included adding safety initiatives to the school buildings. They're also going to have help paying for armed officers in the school. So that's a pretty good thing, I guess. Now, Ella did struggle for a while to get back to normal. She still had several bullets in her body. The wounds meant she could potentially have a permanent nerve damage. On that day, she had several injuries to her spine that could have made it super hard to live a normal life afterwards. Because of this, for a long while, she couldn't even reach her shoelaces or brush her own hair, and she had to go through lots of physical therapy. People have been so good though, and raised over $130,000 for her medical bills through the GoFundMe account, and even more at a volleyball match in July 2018. She was happy to be there, but I think she was pretty sad that she wasn't well enough to play as well. Instead, she continued doing choir and being a great student. I wonder if she felt better or worse about her science classes after this. By 2019, she looks like she's recovered really well and is moving on with her life. She even had a girls' trip to Florida just over a year after it happened.
I'm so excited!
And even now, she's living her best life. In fact, she's pretty much like any regular American teenager, making TikToks and posting on Instagram, and planning what to do after she leaves school. And her teacher, Jason, has moved to Arizona, and he also has made a full recovery. So it's all looking good for everyone except the guy who did this. But we don't even know his name, and frankly, I kinda hope we never do. He doesn't deserve that kind of attention. In fact, Jason put it best.
Say enough how proud of Ella I am and how we all should be. Her courage and strength at such a young age is nothing short of remarkable.
With a hero teacher like that around, maybe school wouldn't be so bad. What do you think about this case? Could you have done what Ella's teacher did? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below.